So when you say the society or the government cares nothing about children, there is a very interesting section of our Texas Family Code. You're probably familiar with it, 201-107C, that says that the judge should make a ruling in such a manner so as to maximize Title 4D funds to the state.
That's
so
right.
Basically, the state's interest in children, from what I hear you saying, is how do we profit from them?
That's right. There's two issues here, and I think I'm going to start with a slightly different issue, but I think it's also very important. We have statutes which say judges should always rule in the best interest of the children. They should always, even in fact, it says they should act in the best interest of the children. Here's the problem: the best interests of a child are not objective, right? The best interests of a child for Catholic are probably quite different than they are for a Baptist. The best interest of a child of an atheist is probably very different than the best interest of a child for a Muslim. The best interest of a child for a New Yorker, I can absolutely guarantee you, are very different than the best interest of the child considered from the point of view of a Texan father. Right? I think every child should know how to use a long gun, a short gun, a long blade, and a short blade, and ought to know how to hunt, ride, and shoot, and fight. Right. Now, that's probably very different than somebody from New England. Okay? So this idea that there is an objective standard for the best interest of the child is incorrect. The reason the court likes to appeal to that standard is because it allows the court to substitute its own view of what the best interests of the child are for the parents, right? And conveniently, that view always seems to line up with maximizing Title 4D reimbursements from the federal government. Very conveniently. And that might have something to do with the fact that judicial retirements are funded from those reimbursements. The more child support a judge assigns, the bigger their retirement. They have a pecuniary interest in ensuring that parents don't have equal custody. If they have equal custody, no one will pay child support, and the state loses a lot of money. I'll give you an example. In Texas, it's $750 million. The entire Texas Attorney General's office is funded by Title 4D reimbursements, to the point where we have statutory courts called they're actually called Title 4D courts.
Yeah, I've seen
family courts. They're actually called Title 4D courts. And they're just courts specifically for the Office of the Attorney General to put men in jail so they can get reimbursements. Yeah. I went down to one of these courts in Dallas County, and I talked to one of the lawyers, and the lawyer told me this is horrible. He said the state doesn't actually care if they put you in jail when you don't pay the child support, because if you're not paying the child support, they'll put you in jail, and then you go on the federal reimbursement program for prisoners.
So they make more money.
Yeah. So you can either pay your child support if you can, although I encourage people just to do the math on the formulas we have here in Texas. Just do the math on 30% of your gross income, a father who makes $40,000 a year, and you'll see that it's impossible for him to find a place to live on that amount of money. You can't live on that amount of money. So the child support formulas are broken. And you have judges who are acting as though they control the child's best interests. And that's really a central argument with what I have going on right now. I can't get 50-50 custody until the counselors clear me on 9 points of counseling. Stuff like, unconditionally loving your child, bullying. As soon as I'm cleared on that with counselors, I get 50-50 custody and no child support. And by the way, I pay maximal child support. I pay well over $40,000 a year. So I can't get the counselors to see my son as a boy. They only want to see my son as a girl. The court-appointed counselors have refused to see my son when he's dressed as a boy. They have also affirmed that he is a girl without my consent. So I denied them the right to see my child. They have done all this despite the fact that I have a court order, which is adjudicated twice, by the way, that my son is male by sex, a boy by gender, and his name is James Damon Younger. And the court-ordered counselors are still teaching him that he's a girl.
This is incredible.
So now that I have revoked the court-ordered counseling, now my ex is saying that I'm endangering the children, and on the 29th, we're having a hearing to take my parental rights.
So Jeff, this whole counseling regime that you're talking about, you're footing the bill for that too, aren't you?
It's a $4,000 a month counseling regime.
And you don't have it, from what I hear you saying, you don't really have much say or input either in the choice of a counselor or telling the counselor back off, you're being abusive. You're basically paying for the court counselor to abuse your children. That's the way that I would say it. I don't know if that's what if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I mean, one of the remarkable facts about my case is in all of the 6 years of solid litigation that I've been engaged in, been sued without break for 6 years. The court has never allowed me to get an independent second opinion for my son.
Wow.
The court is strictly controlling what psychologists see my son so they can get the opinions that they want.
So Jeff, and Eric, I know you probably have some more questions here, but let me go ahead. Let me ask this question too, because, Anne is a pediatrician, made a lot of money, I'm sure, decent money anyway, as a pediatrician. And I'm kind of wondering in the back of my mind, you mentioned $40,000, but I'm sure that Anne made, maybe 10 times that amount. Who knows? I don't know. It's none of my business. But as a doctor, I'm sure she made, somewhere well into the six figures, and you're paying her child support. And there's something that's a disconnect to me. Are you paying her child support, or are you paying her money to keep suing you? I mean, it does not appear to me that you're actually, this child support is the name of this money that they're extorting or stealing from you on threats of who knows what if you don't pay it. It's called child support, but I don't see that it's really being used for that purpose. This is my perspective. I may be incorrect.
There's absolutely no, in Texas, there's absolutely no legal requirement that child support be spent on the children. Child support is owed to the mother, not to the children. The mother doesn't have to account for how the money's spent. She can use it for whatever she wants.
Okay.